Hi friend, Michael here. Finding the perfect ink tablet these days isn't just tricky, it's a bit of a minefield. With so many options, features and price point, it's hard to know which one is actually worth your money and meets your needs. That's where I hope this video will help. Today I'm comparing two of the top ink devices, the Remarkable Paper Pro and the Boox Note Max. In my opinion, these are the best ink tablets available in 2025, and I want to show you exactly how they stack up against each other. I'll be diving into the reading and writing experience, pricing, tech specs, build quality, performance, display, battery life, and a lot more. While they have some similarities, I think they're actually designed for different types of users. Stick around until the very end because I will break down who I think each of these devices is best for. There's a lot to cover, so grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's get started. Let's quickly go over pricing so you get a feel for how these two compare. The Remarkable Paper Pro starts at $579 in the US or €649 in Europe. If you want the premium stylus, that's an extra $50. A standard case is $89. And if you go for the folio with a keyboard, it's currently discounted at a still pretty steep price of $200 or €200. So if you're going for a typical setup with the standard stylus and a standard case, you're looking at around $668 or €748. The Boox Note Max, on the other hand, starts at $650 in the US or €700 in Europe. But this price already includes a standard stylus, a case, and a couple of extra pen tips. If you want to upgrade to the premium stylus, it will cost $79 or €80. And if you want a magnetic keyboard case, that's $150 or €170. When you compare the standard bundle with a stylus and a case, the prices are surprisingly close. The Note Max comes out just $18 or €48 cheaper than the Paper Pro. At this price range, that's not a huge difference, so the real decision comes down to which device actually fits your needs better. And by the way, if you're thinking of picking up either of these devices and want to support the channel, check out the link in the description. Really appreciate your support. Now that we've covered pricing, let's take a quick look at the tech specs and what hardware these two devices are packing. The Remarkable Paper Pro comes with a 1.8 GHz quad-core Cortex A53 CPU, 2 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage, which translates to about 46.3 GB of usable space. It has 5030 mAh lithium-ion battery and features an 11.8-inch e-ink Gallery 3 display that can show up to 40,000 colors at a 2160 by 1620 resolution with 229 ppi. That's a mouthful. I'll get into the display details later, but it's worth noting that the Paper Pro has an adjustable front light. The Boox Note Max, on the other hand, comes with a much more powerful Snapdragon 855 processor built on a 7nm architecture running at 2.8 GHz with an octa-core setup. It has 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage with about 108 GB of usable space. The battery is much smaller at 3700 mAh, but the display is larger at 13.3-inch black and white Carta 1300 panel with a 2400 by 3200 resolution at 300 ppi. Unlike the Paper Pro, the Note Max doesn't have an adjustable front light. When it comes to the extra hardware, the Note Max is simply more loaded. It has a gyroscope, dual speaker, a microphone and Bluetooth support. The Paper Pro, none of that. And while it's not exactly hardware, it's important to mention the operating systems they have. The Note Max runs Android 13, meaning you get access to the Google Play Store and the ability to install apps, just like you would on an Android phone. The Paper Pro, however, runs Remarkable OS, a custom Linux-based system that doesn't allow installing extra apps. What you get out of the box is pretty much what you're stuck with, aside from software updates, of course. Now that we've covered the hardware specs, let's talk about build quality. Because no matter how good the internals are, the way a device feels in your hand matters just as much. And honestly, both of these devices feel premium, sturdy and well designed. They look elegant and definitely give off that high-end feel. Because the Note Max is larger, it's also slightly heavier, by about 2.6 ounces or 75 grams. In day-to-day use though, both feel substantial in the hand, so if you're planning to read on them for hours, you will still probably want a stand, a holder, or at least something to rest your arm on. Now, when it comes to differences, the Paper Pro has a full metal back with rubberized feet, and those feet super handy. The Note Max on the other hand has a plastic bag with a metal accent strip that likely adds to the structural support. It still looks elegant, but side by side, the Paper Pro just feels more refined. If I had to nitpick and answer which one is built better, the Paper Pro wins in my eyes. The full metal back, the attention to detail on the edges, and the stacked paper-like lines on the sides all make it feel like a more premium, thought-out design. And then there's the stylus. I already mentioned in my Note Max review that its stylus is plasticky, lightweight, and a little hollow. It's good, but even the standard Paper Pro stylus feels more premium with a bit more weight that makes it feel like a well-crafted tool rather than just an accessory. One advantage of the Note Max stylus: no charging required. Meanwhile, the Paper Pro stylus has a built-in rechargeable battery that charges magnetically when attached to the device. Convenient? Yes, but also one more thing to keep in mind if you don't want to worry about charging your pen. Both devices feature the latest ink technology, but they take very different approaches to displaying content. The Paper Pro uses Ink Gallery 3, which supports up to 20,000 colors through a 4-particle microcapsule system: cyan, magenta, yellow and white. It has an adjustable front light, but it's not very bright and contrast adjustments are limited. The Note Max on the other hand comes with a black and white Ink Carta 1300 display. It doesn't have a color or a front light, but it offers far more customization, including contrast adjustments and multiple refresh modes that optimize the experience depending on what you're doing. For reading text, the Note Max is the clear winner. The 300 ppi display is noticeably sharper than the Paper Pro's 229 ppi. Text looks crisper, sharper, and easier to read with no pixelation even when looking up close. But when it comes to reading comics, magazines, or any content with images, the Paper Pro has definite advantage because of its color support. That said, the colors aren't particularly vivid or accurate. There's a noticeable yellow tint compensating for the colors the screen can't fully reproduce. And blacks aren't truly black, they have a dark blue tone. Another thing to mention is the images on the Paper Pro have a slight granular texture, while the Note Max produces a much smoother and cleaner image. If your priority is to work with A4 PDF documents or publications, the Note Max larger screen size makes a big difference. Full page content fits better, reducing the need for zooming or scrolling. For writing, both displays perform exceptionally well, and the pen-to-screen response time is impressive on both. However, if the goal is to get the most paper-like feel, the Paper Pro comes out on top. The slightly textured screen mimics the sensation of writing on high-quality paper, while the Note Max is much smoother and feels more like writing with a marker on glass. One thing to note about the Paper Pro is that writing in color introduces a slight screen refresh after each stroke. This is expected behavior for Gallery 3 displays, but it's not something you'd experience on the Note Max or even other coloring screens like the Boox Note Air 4C. Ghosting, or the faint trace of previous content left on the screen, happens on both devices. I'd say it's more noticeable on the Note Max, but the benefit is that it has multiple refresh modes, allowing for adjustments based on the activity. Faster refresh modes help smooth things out, but they may introduce more artifacts. The Paper Pro's ghosting is less pronounced, but it doesn't offer refresh mode adjustments like the Note Max. Overall, these are two excellent displays, but they serve different needs. The Note Max is a better choice for sharp text and a smooth reading experience. The Paper Pro makes up for its low pixel density with color support and a more natural writing feel, making it a compelling option for those who value note-taking and annotations. Let's talk about battery life. I tested two different scenarios for both devices, reading and writing, to understand their hourly battery drain and how they compare in real-world use. The Paper Pro has a much larger 5030 mAh battery paired with a smaller screen, while the Note Max has a 3700 mAh battery and a larger display. On paper, no pun intended, the Paper Pro should last longer, but the actual results tell a different story. For reading, I tested both devices under the same low power conditions. Airplane mode on, front light off on the Paper Pro, A2 refresh mode enabled on the Note Max, and page turns every 20 seconds. Both devices drained at a nearly identical rate, averaging around 4% per hour. One detail worth mentioning is how you turn pages. The Note Max allows both swipes and taps, whereas the Paper Pro only supports swiping. Because of that, my auto page turner device didn't work on the Paper Pro, so I had to turn the pages manually. Small detail, yes, but I think it may be important to some of you who want to use auto page turners or other accessories. For writing, I conducted multiple 15-minute continuous writing sessions, then averaged the results. Both devices drain 3% of battery per 15 minutes, meaning you can expect around 12% per hour when writing. This in my view just shows how efficient the refresh system is on the Carta 1300 display compared to the Gallery 3 on the Paper Pro, which has a more complex microcapsule system to generate color. One more factor to mention that could impact real-world battery life is the stylus. The Paper Pro stylus charges through the device, while the Note Max stylus doesn't have a battery and requires no power at all. Over time, this could give the Note Max an edge in battery performance, especially for heavy note takers. For e-ink devices, performance of both is more than reasonable. Switching between folders, navigating menus, and using the keyboard to enter text all feel solid. There's a slight lag in certain areas, sometimes you wait a second for a page to load, but this happens on each device and quite sporadically. One advantage the Note Max has is its ability to change refresh modes. When I switch to A2 mode, which is the fastest, navigating the menus becomes super snappy and there's no noticeable flicker. It feels much smoother compared to the Paper Pro. And if I need better display quality, I can switch to normal or regal mode. On the Paper Pro, there's no option to adjust refresh settings, so you're kind of stuck with what you're provided. Also, the way the screens refresh is different. On the Paper Pro, the screen flickers in various places when refreshing, while the Note Max refreshes everything all at once, making it more pleasant to the eye. This difference isn't a big deal when reading text, but it's just much more noticeable when navigating magazines or documents with images. Both devices offer a solid reading experience, and if you don't have anything to compare them to, you will be satisfied with either. However, I have to say that I lean towards the Note Max because the text is sharper, cleaner, and more contrasty, with a much better separation between the text and background. The clarity of Carta 1300 is really impressive. It's amazing how far ink technology has come, making text this crisp and easy to read. When it comes to features and customization, Note Max takes the lead. It offers a ton of options to tailor your reading experience, including text-to-speech, auto page turning, split view, dark mode, and extensive font customization. I've listed a lot of these features in my full in-depth review, which I will link at the end of this video. In contrast, the Paper Pro feels much more limited in this area. You can change font size, margin, spacing, and font style, but the issue is performance. Making these changes takes a long time, especially with larger books. The book you see on the screen right now took over 20 seconds to apply formatting changes, whereas Note Max does it in just 1 or 2 seconds. Reading in the dark is another important factor. The front light on the Paper Pro, while not very strong, is incredibly helpful for night reading. With Note Max, you will need an external light source. In my experience, at least 150 lumens to make reading comfortable. One more thing to mention about the color. Reading at night doesn't really let you appreciate it. You might still see some yellows, pinks, or purples, but for the most part, everything starts to look colorless in low light conditions. Both devices offer a great writing experience. The styluses are highly sensitive, accurate, and precise, making them excellent for detailed drawings or note-taking. Whether you're journaling, taking notes in class, or attending office meetings, both devices will serve you well. When it comes to the feel of writing, it's really a matter of personal preference. For me, Paper Pro wins in this area. It feels much closer to writing on real paper compared to the Note Max. One interesting detail is that if you write in color on Paper Pro, the color takes an extra moment to appear. Instead of instantly showing while you're writing, it only updates after you stop for a second. It's not a huge issue, but it's something you won't experience on Note Max, which actually doesn't have a color, so yeah, forget about it. Now, when we factor in features, Note Max completely outclasses Paper Pro. and this really highlights the core differences in their intended use cases. Both devices include essential features like templates, layers, shapes, typed text input, extra margins, and handwriting to text conversion. But Note Max goes much farther. You get voice recording for notes, hyperlinking within books and files, adding attachments, Smart Scribe for more natural handwriting, and a lot more. I've covered most of these in detail in my full review, so if you want to see everything in action, I will link that at the end of this video. In terms of handwriting to text conversion, both devices handle messy handwriting well, so if you have neat handwriting, they will do an even better job. However, Note Max supports more languages and offers a lot more flexibility. Unlike Paper Pro, it allows you to immediately share the converted text, reformat it, copy it to the clipboard, or even convert all pages in the document all at once. Again, it's a perfect example of Note Max's focus on features and customization, which makes it incredibly powerful, but also requires a bit of learning to fully take advantage of everything it offers. Both devices have their strengths, but they cater to different types of users. The Paper Pro is best suited for writer and note takers who prioritize a natural writing experience. If your main focus is handwriting, journaling, or note-taking during meetings and lectures, this is a fantastic option. The feel of the stylus on the screen is incredibly close to paper, making it an excellent choice for those who want that realistic writing sensation. Another great fit for Paper Pro is casual readers who want a simple, distraction-free device. Although, if you're an ebook reader, you may be better off with something more smaller and portable like Kindle or Kobo devices. On the other hand, Note Max is the powerhouse device for those who want full customization and feature-packed functionality. If you need a multifunctional e-reader and note-taking device that supports tons of features we discussed, Note Max is the clear winner. It's great for researchers and students who want to cross-reference multiple documents with its split-screen mode. So if you need a device that does it all, Note Max is probably the one to go for. So that wraps up my comparison between the Paper Pro and the Note Max. Both are fantastic devices, but they cater to different needs. But now I'd love to hear from you. Which device suits you best? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, leave a comment to let me know, and subscribe if you're into e-ink devices like Kindle, Kobo, Remarkable, Boox, and all the knowledge related to e-ink technology. And if you'd like to support my work, you can buy me a coffee or become a YouTube member like the group right here, and I genuinely appreciate your support. I'm also a landscape and drone photographer, so if you'd like some high-resolution wallpapers of my shots with a painting effect like the one you see on the screen right now, you can check out my digital collection in the description. Hey, but that's not all. If you want to dive deeper into either device, check out these videos here for my full in-depth reviews of both Note Max and the Paper Pro. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!